So first thing that you need to be able to identify is what operation you're performing. So add, subtract, or multiply. If I look at this one, what operation is that? Adding, which means all you are doing is combining like terms. So my highest exponent is squared. So 9 plus 10 is 19x squared. Negative 8 and a positive 5 is a negative 3x. 13 minus 1 is 12. So as you look at number 1 on the computer, for those of you that did it, is that what you typed in? Does yours look exactly like that? Okay? You forgot an exponent. Okay? So you need to double check your work tomorrow because, again, you're going to be mad if you get something wrong because you didn't type it all in properly. Okay, so again, I'm going to give you, like, this is what your test is going to look like tomorrow. I'm going to give you this so you can work it out, and then you can type your answers in. And then you should double check your work. And we're going to see how that goes, and if it looks like that's something that helps us, maybe we'll do that from now on instead of you having to copy all the problems. Okay, so I want you to take that part really seriously tomorrow. Number 2, the operation is still addition, so it's still just combining like terms. Highest exponent in this case is a 2 as well. 7 plus 6 is 13x squared. Negative 3 plus 12 is a positive 9x. And 2 minus 6 is a negative 4. So check your answer for number 2. See where you messed up. Maybe make a note to yourself if you messed up somewhere. Number 3, what operation am I performing there? Subtraction. Okay, we can't just combine. We have to distribute in that negative sign. So I really have a 9x squared minus 2x plus 3. That's my first set of parentheses. And when I distribute in a negative, I get a negative 5x squared, a minus 3x, and a plus 20. Now I can combine. Highest exponent, 2, so 9 minus 5 is 4x squared. Negative 2 minus 3 is a negative 5x. And 3 plus 20 is 23. So again, check your answer for number 3, especially if it's wrong, and see where you went wrong. Number 4 was missed a lot. I think almost everybody missed this problem. So, what are some things you notice about number 4? Absolutely. There's 2 things you have to distribute. And what else do you notice that's going to be important? This subtraction sign tells you combine like terms. So you distribute and then combine like terms. Okay, so if I distribute 2x times 12x squared is 24x to the third. 2x times negative x is negative 2x squared. And 2x times 6 is 12x. So take it one thing at a time. I just looked at that first set and distributed everything in. So far, so good? Okay, we're going to do the same thing with this second set. If I distribute in a negative x to the third, I get a negative 5x to the fifth, a negative 4x to the fourth, and a negative positive 10x to the third. So distribute in that negative x to the third, and now I'm combining like terms. So if I write it in standard form, what is my highest exponent? 5. So negative 5x to the fifth. Then we go with our 4. There's only one of them. So negative 4x to the fourth. Then I see a 24x to the third and a 10x to the third for 34x to the third. There's only one x squared, so I'm just going to rewrite that one, and it's a negative 2x squared, and then I have that 12x at the end. Yes?
Yeah, now you put the exact same answer.
Okay, it's right. So there could have been a mistake when the answers were inputted. So if you have that answer and it looks exactly like that, you're right. Okay. Again, I'm not giving your practice test a grade based on what you got. As long as you did it, you're getting credit for it. Okay. So I will make sure that I look at number 4 and see what the answer is. But that is the correct answer. So that makes me happy. So we all didn't really miss number 4. We got that? Okay. Number 5, I see a distribution, and then technically 2, right? I have a negative 5 I have to distribute and a negative 1. So if I distribute a negative 5, negative 10a squared minus 20a plus 5 is that first set of parentheses. And when I distribute a negative in the second set, I get a negative 8a squared plus 3a minus 4. Highest exponent, 2. So negative 10 and negative 8 is negative 18a squared. Negative 20a and 3a is a negative 17a. And 5 minus 4 is 1. Is that one okay on our computers? Okay. If we see another one that you're like, we put that answer and we got it wrong, let me know so I can go back and check it, okay? Number 6 is probably the hardest one in the sense that there's x's and y's, and standard form becomes a little confusing. So when there are more than one variable and it looks like this, I just want you to distribute and leave your answer in the order you distributed in. Okay, because again, standard form becomes a little funky. So if I distribute, I get 18 x to the 6th y plus 56. Thank you, sorry. 54, where am I at? X squared, y squared? Minus 45, x squared, y. So here's what people started to do. They saw these x squareds and automatically wanted to combine those. But this is x squared, y squared, and this is x squared, y. They're not considered like terms because the variables and exponents aren't exactly the same. So none of those are like terms. You literally leave it as is. Okay, and we're going to leave that as standard form. Did we get that one? Did we miss that one a lot?
I got it.
We got it? Okay. Number 7. What operation are we performing here? Just distribution. Okay, there's not going to be anything theoretically to combine. We should always still look because there might be, but right now we're just distributing. So if I distribute, I get a negative 3x to the third plus 3x squared minus 12x when I distribute in a negative 3x. You should look for standard form, and you should look for like terms. Okay? It's in standard form because it goes 3, 2, 1, and there are no like terms. Number 8 is just distribution as well. Okay, where do I start with this one? Where should I start? The 5 and negative 2, right? The coefficient. So 5 times negative 2 gives you negative 10. I have x squared times x to the third. What's that? X to the 5th. And y times y squared is y to the third. There's only one term, so there's nothing to combine there. What's the biggest thing for a problem like this? What should you just look for and make sure that you have? Okay, so you're not going to have like terms because there's no addition subtraction, but what is something that you should make sure you have in the correct order when you type it in? The variables, right? It should go x, y. So it's already in that order, but just in case you multiply it funky, it should be in ABC order. Number 9, what operation is that? Add, subtract, multiply. Multiply. What are your options when you multiply? Distribute or box? Okay, I don't care what operation you use. Let's distribute here just because it's a 2 by 2, because I'm going to use the box as we get to the larger ones. But if you like the box, then you do the box while I distribute. Okay, so the 3x times both terms in the second set gives me 3x squared plus 6x. And then the 1 times both terms is an x minus 2. It's in standard form for me, and I just have to combine like terms. So 3x squared plus 7x minus 2 should have been your answer. So again, check your answer on Edge Elastic and make sure that's what you typed in. Yes? What did I do wrong? It should be a -6. Yes, thank you. Absolutely. This should be a... and it should be a -5x. Thank you. So 3x squared minus 5x minus 2 should be your answer. So I would be really upset with myself because I know that 3 times -2 is -6, and that's not what I put, right? So I just was going through it. Take your time as you do it. Absolutely. All right, let's see if I can do this one right. Here we go. So if I distribute, I get 8x to the third minus 12x squared. And then I get a -10x plus 15. There are no like terms with this one, so it's just a matter of rewriting. 8x to the third minus 12x squared minus 10x plus 15. Are we okay with that? Yeah. Where are some of our big mistakes coming from as you look at your answers? Because a lot of us got a lot of these wrong. So I just am interested to see where you're noticing your mistakes come from. Is it the mistake I made here and I multiplied wrong, which means then I have to add wrong, or I'm adding wrong? Or is it we're typing it in wrong? Like what are you noticing? You're adding wrong? Okay.
Negatives and positives for some reason. Somehow they're getting lost throughout the problem and messed up.
Okay. So, I think for us tomorrow, having a sheet that you can actually write on and I can go back and check and see where you got lost and give you better partial credit might be helpful. But again, take your time because you have the whole period and the test is shorter by like 7 problems, I think. I want to say it's 16 problems. Okay. All right. Number 11. You can distribute if you want, or you can use the box. I would say that as our problems get larger, for most of us, the box is going to be easier. Okay? So I'm going to use the box. If you don't want to, then don't. So down the side, I have 3x minus 2. And across the top, I have 5x to the third minus x and a plus 2. To get in the box, we multiply. So 3x times 5x cubed is 15x to the fourth. 3x times negative x is negative 3x squared. 3x times 2 is 6x. Negative 2 times 5x to the third is negative 10x to the third. Negative 2 times negative x is a positive 2x. And negative 2 times 2 is a negative 4. Again, the nice thing about the box is your diagonals are going to be your like terms. So if you realize, so let's look at this for instance. Are those like terms? No. Now, that may be okay, but let's go back and check, right? Because sometimes you're like, oh, well, I know that's supposed to be a 3 or that should be a 2. Maybe you're okay. They may not be like terms. I said at the very beginning, if they're like terms, they'll be in the diagonal. So if I multiply again, x times x is definitely x squared, and that's x to the third. So I'm good. Are these like terms? Yeah. Which means I'm just going to rewrite all of these. So 15x to the fourth minus 10x to the third minus 3x squared plus 8x minus 4. This is a really good example of why the box helps organize and allows you to kind of check to make sure that there are or not supposed to be like terms. Okay, and the reason that happens is because this one starts at an x cubed and doesn't have an x squared in it. Do you see that? How it's not in standard form, it's missing a term. So that's why that happens, but it's a good check. Okay. All right, let's do this one. Again, you can distribute if you want. So 4x minus 1 and x to the third minus 5x plus 1. Is this going to do the exact same thing? Probably, right? Because I have an x to the third but don't have an x squared term. So if I multiply to get in the box, I get 4x to the fourth minus 20x squared and then a 4x. And along the bottom, I have a negative x to the third, a positive 5x, and a negative 1. Those should be like terms. Well, those are potentially like terms, but if I check, x times x is x squared, and I have an x to the third, so they're not. But these are, so I'm good there. So I'm going to combine what I have. 4x to the fourth minus x to the third minus 20x squared. Those are just rewritten. 5 plus 4 gives me 9. And then I have the minus 1 at the end. 9x and then minus 1 at the end. Any questions with those first 12? No? We're okay? We're going to keep going? Okay. My favorites. I'm going to say this out loud, and I'm not going to call you out and tell you to raise your hand, but I want you to look at your computer screen. And again, you don't have to raise your hand, but how many of you put x squared plus 25 as your answer? So look at your screen for number 13. Did you put x squared plus 25? If you did, you make me sad. Because what are we not allowed to do? What do you, oh, some of you did. I can see it on your faces. What are you not allowed to do? Distribute a exponent when what? When there's a plus or a minus. You're not allowed to distribute an exponent when there's a plus or minus. So you need to rewrite this problem so that it's x plus 5 times x plus 5. Okay. Do you know how to solve x plus 5 times x plus 5? Yeah, you're going to distribute or box. I'm going to distribute. So if I distribute, I get x squared plus 5x, and then I get 5x plus 25. When I combine Like terms, x squared plus 10x plus 25 is my answer. Again, if you give me x squared plus 25, I'm going to be really sad, and then I'm going to be extra sad that I have to give you a 0. Okay? Which means 14 is the same thing. You need to rewrite it as x squared plus 4 times, that doesn't say x squared, 2x plus 4 times 2x plus 4. Okay, distributor box, whatever your heart desires. So if I distribute, I get a 4x squared plus 8x, and then an 8x plus 16. And some of you may have learned the trick along the way, and if you know the trick and can figure it out, by all means do so. But the nice thing is distribution or the box always works. So 4x squared plus 16x plus 16 should have been your answer for number 14. Guess what? Number 15 is exactly the same. My guess is if you missed 13, you probably missed 14, 15, and 16 as well, because you did the same thing for all of them. Okay, so for 15, it's x minus 4 times x minus 4. When you distribute, you get x squared minus 4x, a minus 4x, and a positive 16. And when we combine like terms, x squared minus 8x plus 16 should be your final answer. Okay. 16, it's the exact same thing. So 3x minus 1 times 3x minus 1. When I distribute, I get 9x squared minus 3x, a minus 3x, and a plus 1. Or 9x squared minus 6x plus 1 as my final answer. What makes 17 different from the other ones? Okay, so that what's inside the parentheses is exactly the same, except one's positive, one's negative. Now this one had, like I guess a title that went with it. Does anyone remember what this one's called? It's a special product, but there's a name for the special product. Anyone remember? Difference of squares. Awesome. Okay, it's difference of squares. So when you have two sets of parentheses that are identical to each other, except one's plus, one's minus, it's difference of squares. This is probably the one where you figured out what the trick was. Yeah? You can use the trick if that helps you, or if you like it and you understand it. If not, distribution of the box always works. How many people used the trick and got it correct? Okay, so the trick probably is not the best option for most of us. So let's distribute, and then we'll talk about what the trick is so you can see it. So if I distribute, I get x squared plus 3x. And then I get a negative 3x minus 9. So x squared comes down. What happens with the x's, the 3x and the negative 3x? They cancel. And then I have a minus 9. So I'm gonna explain the trick one more time, because again, some of you have figured it out. If you are not understanding it or you're not getting it right, distribute or use the box. But if it's difference of squares, where both of the parentheses are exactly the same with one plus and one minus, those middle terms are always going to cancel. So you can multiply the first terms So x times x gives me x squared, and you can multiply the last terms. Negative 3 times 3 gives me negative 9. Okay, that only works for this type of problem. So if you can't identify that problem, don't use it ever. Just box or distribute. Okay? Now, number 18 happens to be that type of problem, right? They're exactly the same, where one's plus, one's minus. So if I distribute or I use the box, those middle terms are going to cancel out. So I can multiply the first terms. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. And I can multiply the last term. 7 times negative 7 is negative 49. I'm going to say it one more time. If you do not understand the trick or do not understand how to identify the right type of problem, don't use it. Distribute or use the box. Okay, you don't want to mess up. And I know you guys can multiply. Questions through 18. All right, area and perimeter. So, first of all, for perimeter, how do we find the perimeter of anything? Add all the sides. Well, right now I only know 2 of the sides. What's this side going to be? 2x plus 1. And this side's going to be 4x minus 3. Now, you can write it all out, or we can literally just add our like terms, right? So, 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 2 more is 8, plus 4 more is 12. So my perimeter is 12x. Now let's do our constants. 1 minus 3 1 minus 3, negative 2 plus 1. So negative 2 plus 1 is a negative 1. Negative 1 minus 3, negative 4. So you should have had 12x minus 4 for your perimeter. How do we find the area? You multiply the length times the width. So area is 2x plus 1 times 4x minus 3. If I distribute or use the box, either one, I get 8x squared minus 6x, and then I get a 4x minus 3. So my area is 8x squared minus 2x minus 3. For perimeter, if it's easier for you to write it all out and circle and do all of that, then do so. You're just adding them all together. Okay. Number 20, I'm just asked for the perimeter. So if I add up all those sides, 2x plus x is 3x, plus 5x is 8x. Negative 4 plus 3, negative 1, and negative 1 plus 9. Negative 1 plus 9? 8. So your perimeter should have been 8x plus 8. Okay, I want you to take a second and try number 21. You're finding the perimeter and the area. So I'm going to give you a second. I want you to try number 21. For number 21, if I'm looking for perimeter, I'm going to start by rewriting the sides in. So if I add all the sides, 3x plus 3x is 6x, plus 3x is 9x, plus 3x is 12x. 2 minus 2, right? Here's a 2 minus 2 is, what's 2 minus 2? 0. And then 2 minus 2 is 0. So my perimeter is just 12x. For area, what do you notice? What kind of problem is that? A special one? Which special one is it?
Different square.
Difference of squares. They're exactly the same with one plus and one minus. If you don't recognize it, that's okay. You know how to distribute and you know how to use the box. But I recognized it, so I can tell you the answer is 9x squared minus 4. You multiply the first terms. 3x times 3x is 9x squared. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Again, it is okay if you don't recognize it right now. You're eventually going to have to see it, so that's why we're practicing it. Okay, for this next one, perimeter. If I add everything up, 7x plus 1x is 8x. Okay, I wrote those backwards. Hold on. So 8x plus 7x is 15x. Plus one more is 16x. Negative 3 plus 4 is 1. 1 minus 3, negative 2. And negative 2 plus 4, 2. So perimeter, you should have gotten 16x plus 2. For area, it's x plus 4 times 7x minus 3. There's nothing special about this one, so you're going to distribute or use the box. I'm going to distribute. I get 7x squared minus 3x, and then I get a 28x minus 12. So my area is 7x squared plus 25x minus 12. Okay, area and perimeter, don't make them more difficult than they need to be. You're just combining like terms and then you're multiplying. For number 23, I want the area of the shaded region, and the area of the shaded region is all of this stuff. So think of that middle box as a pool, and you're looking for like the patio and concrete area. Where should I start? If I want the area of just the shaded region, where should I start? What'd you say?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because you should do a large triangle and a small one.
Right? So let's find the area of the large rectangle. So 9x times 3x plus 1. This is the area of the large rectangle. And how do I solve that? Distribute. So 27x squared plus 9x is the area of the large rectangle. But I need to get rid of basically the pool, right? That smaller rectangle. So I also need to find the area of the small rectangle, which is 4x times x minus 1, which gives me 4x squared minus 4x. And remember when we dealt with composite figures and we're taking something out, what operation is that? Subtraction. So we're going to subtract. Now here's where you have to be very, very careful. You are going to subtract the small rectangle from the large one. You're subtracting all of it, not just this first term. Okay, so if you made a mistake on this one, this is probably where it happened. You need to take out everything. So you should have 27x squared plus 9x. Distribute in that negative, so a negative 4x squared plus 4x. (27 minus 4 gives you 23x squared. 9 plus 4 is 13x. Okay, so if you messed up on this one, It's because you only subtracted the 4x squared and you have to subtract all of that rectangle out.